You know all the folks that are actually in the middle of AI. How much bullshit is happening?
I oscillate between, oh my God, dumpster fire with diapers on a Monday, and by Friday I'm like, no, it's real. This strangest oscillation cycle I've ever seen.
There will be 1,000 little companies, but most of the value feels like it's going to go into relatively few.
Google's quarters now are close to 100 billion. 10 years ago, their whole year was 50.
Okay, so you know all the folks that are actually in the middle of AI. How much bullshit is happening?
I oscillate between, oh my God, dumpster fire with diapers on a Monday, and by Friday I'm like, no, it's real. Like it's this strangest oscillation cycle I've ever seen of belief, disbelief. And the cadence of disbelief and belief is like shrinking like this. It's like you'll see something on Monday, and then Friday, Dwayne, my co-founders here, will do demos and like, oh, we did that. Like it's this strange cycle of things. So knowing what I know, knowing what I see, it's real. I've not seen something like this. The impact of it is measured daily now. I think people come up with something new, and maybe some people lost their weekend using Sora, getting an invite. Like you just see it, and the adoption rates are tighter, faster, bigger. The impact is stronger. I've just not seen this, and I've been around a bit. I got some great.
We had the crazy experience building in the late 90s where it kind of had some similar feels, like the substance of this thing called the internet. That, like my first customer was a woman by the name of Deborah Tripati, and she said, I think we should figure out how to trade stocks online. And like everyone's like, you can't trade stocks on the internet. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Deborah was the CTO for E-Trade and built that business out. And so like we're kind of like at that moment where like everything's possible. Everything seems like bullshit. Like $100 billion from OpenAI to Oracle, then goes to NVIDIA. Like it feels like Cisco's financing their own customers, and the whole shell game with CUX again. Or like, how do we calibrate? Is it real? Is it not real? How much bullshit is there? Because you said it was all good. I just don't believe that.
Let me give a longer answer, because I think I was thinking about this over the weekend. I'm like, what are some of the seminal experiences by each one? I was a student when I first started at Newbridge, and I got access to something called CanGate. And you had to telnet into this site, and it gave you access to this web of text. And you would ask it questions, and it would give you answers. And I was like, this is surreal. And that experience has always stuck with me as aha, something's changed. Then came Mosaic, then came the browser, and the rest is kind of history. Then when the phones came about, it was like, okay, let me book a restaurant like I did online with my phone, but now I know the location, so I know what to surface. So there was just some of these seminal things that started coming up. When you see orchestration in the cloud at scale, you're like, this is unbelievable. When you see that offer letters are being signed by the parents because the kids are 17 and can't sign their own offer letters, it is a really cool thing. I laughed, but I saw it. I was like, whose signature is this? This is the parent. I was like, okay. So that's kind of the longer thing. What is good? So in any hype cycle, super cycle, build out cycle, you'll see a ton of investment. You'll see a ton of dollars moving into the ecosystem. Is that good or bad? Well, in every cycle, there's the loss leader. Like tokens are costing, they're shipping every token with a dollar bill, so to speak. So that's what you see now. Ultimately, when does that become valuable, and who are the winners? I'm not a stock picker, but I know that if you're going to do this, you're going to need hardware infrastructure. Like I learned this from you all as a team, right? So I'm like, okay, you're going to need racks, you're going to need things. What's unclear to me, having built apps through all of these different eras, is the concept of an app now has changed for me, because part of the apps can be subsumed in the models. And when something gets subsumed, it happens silently, it happens instantly, and you don't even know what happened. So overnight, updates happen to these models, and companies upon companies that get funded go to zero. And this is the one thing that keeps me up all the time. I just can't understand, like, I feel like we're cresting waves. Like, I got a great conversation at the break on like use cases. I'm like, oh yeah. And then I'm like thinking in between, I'm like, oh, when does that become an automated thing? And the answer is not anytime soon, because there's a moat of information. But I was just like, okay, like I'm thinking about that every use case. Every time we think of a new feature, I see a new feature and I go, when can this be replicated?
So this wave feels bigger. It feels like it's moving faster. And to your point, like it seems like the only thing that's consistent is the power law that a few companies are going to take almost all the value. And this time might be even more so, as opposed to like 1,000 little companies. There will be 1,000 little companies, but most of the value feels like it's going to go into relatively few. Question mark.
Answer yes, comma. We were just, I think Dan and I were just talking about it when we walked in, and it was like, who are the winners? How do you get winners in every different market, right? And if you specifically focus on this, you're seeing the market caps of the whole OSI stack. If you studied that or follow it, I'm not trying to use any asymmetry, but it's like physical layers all the way through to the applications. That physical layers market caps, I don't know what it is today. It must be $4.5 trillion. Like there was never a $4.5 trillion market cap company. We were just commenting, Google's quarters now are close to 100 billion. Like 10 years ago, their whole year was 50.
Yeah.
It's just gotten so big so fast that the quantum of that is hard to invest in. We used to do this in chips, right? Like if there's a chip company, we'll just spend more. They'll be out of business at some point, right? Like it's just this power law capability now. Like anybody who thinks they can outspend NVIDIA, they might know something I don't, right? I'm.
Isn't your former co-founder Bottleneck trying to do that?
He is, and
I forgot to mention another. Oh, he also invented self-driving transportation systems. A company called Automatic with Sunny, who Ford bought you guys, rumored to be for about $1 billion, give or take. But Sunny's like making that bet. He's doing Brock, trying to take on NVIDIA.
Yeah. So, company's autonomic. Ford bought it. Yeah. It was the underpinning of vehicle connectivity for self-driving and a bunch of other data services. 11-month journey. It's fun. Right place, right time. I will say this about competing with NVIDIA. If you're looking at competing with them on GPU for training, you can't do it. If you're competing with them on data center, memory link, those things, good luck. Where Grok and others have found a market is the next phase post the training of the models in inference. And in inference, the construct was, and it was actually, I think Devin's here, right? Y'all are investors in this. Where's Devin?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So like,
I'm an investor in Garage. I was an investor in Grok and Northleaf. That's why half of my position in Grok from Garage.
there you go.
It's all in the room.
There you go. And great segue.
I'm half wrong on whether that Sunny can go after NVIDIA or not.
So there's an investment in this inference and this sovereign AI thread that you'll see, and you see it in this country. Somehow we've formed a 26-person group in America. They won. But anyways, long story short, I feel like there's an investment at certain layers where you can compete, but if you're trying to go head to head with them, you can't. And inference to me is the next market that they're investing in. So if you're trying to train a model to beat Google or Anthropic or OpenAI, I don't know where that money's coming from. But if you can get it, great, because there's a great opportunity. But if you can't be in the same order of magnitude, I think it's very difficult to compete.
Yeah, like Anthropic's last round was $10 billion at $128 billion pre-money or something like that. Crazy.
The numbers are big, right? Like I've known some of the investors in this room a long time. Like Would you ever see a $10 billion financing in a private company?
Never.
Never, right? Like that is an IPO. That's not even an IPO, right? Like that was.
Well, we talked earlier, Jack Newton, our teacher, our founder, did $1 billion financing for Clio last year. And that's by far the biggest financing of a private Canadian company ever.
So if you get infrastructure out of the way, the question now becomes like, there's a bunch of taps, connectors, picks, shovels that'll be there. How do you manage GPUs? Like, there's a ton of tech in there, stuff that we would know from racks and stacks days. You start going into like, what are the applications? And immediately it's like, when mobile hit, there was a bunch of extensions to web apps, but the big winners ended up being an Uber, an Instagram, something that leveraged a characteristic of mobile that wasn't available in its previous generation. And I'm starting to see that now in some of these AI apps. So like, we're applying, we at Mantle are applying AI to a known problem that's an extension of an existing problem. And I'm watching over the weekend my kids use Sora to create videos. And I'm like, oh, there's like two dimensions, two vectors here that are very, very, very different.
Say more.
Well, who here used Sora this weekend or previously? Okay, great. I'm gonna pick on you, Marcelo. What was your experience? Was it unbelievable?
It's mind blowing.
It's mind blowing, right? Like it's mind blowing. With somebody with that pedigree says it's mind blowing, you got to think twice. Okay, why is it mind blowing, right? And there's just an aspect and experience to it.
Conduct Marcelo, what is with Google, then was one of the first couple of engineers that started Square Cash, which is worth about $40 billion plus. And then his co-founder started Fair. So really thrilled to have Marcelo here. And then, like, he's just hanging out, listening to you talk. It's pretty cool.
Hey, love it. Thank you. So you start hearing people use those expressions, and then you use it, and you're like, and if you get it, you'll be like, okay. If you don't get it, it's fine too, right? But there's kind of these experiences that you'll see. So when you start getting to the application layer, it's like you have to leverage characteristics that are enabled by these models that give you a wow, that give you an above expectation, or even a totally out there left field experience that wasn't there.
So you're trying to do that with Mantle. Tell me a little bit about, like, what's this new project you guys have decided to take on?
Yeah, so Mantle's again a personal passion project that's turned into a business. And ostensibly, I was struggling with answering two questions. What was my cost and what was my fair market value of investments in private assets generally? Companies, funds. It got really bad. I came to an event not dissimilar to this, and some GP walked up saying, "Hey, thanks for investing in my fund." And I was like, "I don't know who this is." And I was like, "Oh, felt like you're, some entity." And I was like, "Oh, I don't. Okay. Like it was like I felt like a total jerk." And I was like, "Okay, this is bad." And then, by the way, I was behind on a capital call, so I was like, "Okay, this is bad." So then it was like grinding through that. I was like, "Okay, let's get a handle on this." And at scale, when you start getting these positions in funds, it becomes a lot of work. But the good news is when you get the data and you can stitch it all together, you start asking the question, how much of Grok do you own?
Mm-hmm.
What are Grok's prospects? What are the prospects of doing a secondary in, Purpose Matter or one of these other deals that you've done? And it's like, there's a whole world available to us in terms of information. And if you've done it, you'll appreciate it. If you've gone into any of these models in the text box and given it context to write you a report or tell you something, it's amazing. I prided myself on writing amazing reports. I'm like, there's no chance I could beat any of these bots at the reports.
So you started, I think 3 years ago.
Yep.
So same time you started True North. What's your AUM on Mantle now?
So we've scaled. We're closing in on $2 trillion in the system. For context,
Could you do like the Juliet topics? The corollary question is, how many gay customers do you have?
not as many as I'd like. Close to zero. It's in the single hands. Single hand.
Yeah, which is, I think, one of the other things, like this room is important for is like that we start to network together. So like I know Northleaf is looking at Mantle. I know Ciel is looking at Mantle. Like the more we could do business together, Jay working with Dante to get his MDR solutions to protect our hospitals. Like I'm excited about the relationships that build at these events. But like what a journey in 3 years to go from, hey, I don't know what fund I'm in to having almost $2 trillion on the platform.
Yeah, I thank you. That being said, there's been groups in market longer than us that are approaching 5, 6. It's a race, and the person who gets it will have, will have the market, right? Like that's kind of the race we look at every day. Who are we competing with? Like there's a company that got bought last week, Excelis, that's out of the UK and here that does this. Another company raised $50 million. They announced it the week before. There's another one in market now. So there's a lot going on. And this is really driven on the backs of the executive order that came down a couple months ago, maybe in August. 401ks, the US equivalent of an RSP, is now eligible to be eligible for private assets. It's great. That's a $12 trillion market. There's no tooling for it. You can't use a spreadsheet and email to manage this stuff. Like that's challenging.
And I think it picks up on a little bit of the earlier conversation. It feels like this is a really big wave, but it's definitely a winner take all faster than I think we've ever seen before. I know Dan's going to come up right after us, and when I asked him on Drake, like, what competitors do you have? And he looked at me like I was smoking something. He's like, we have no competitors. No, we have 10. You're crushing them though, which we'll talk about. But like this, it does seem like companies are, once they break through, once they are the dominant company, like there seems to be this acceleration.
This is the power law being chased, and you see it in public markets. The top, 7 of 10 most valuable companies are venture-backed, founder-led businesses, right? That power law is being chased, has been being chased by venture forever. You now see it in the public markets, and you see there being a momentum wheel that builds around these companies. We are not the first place company today, and it's our job to get there and get into that sphere where you can just start accelerating. I think that's a really important thing you bring up, because it happens in rooms like this. It happens here. People can connect, people can discuss. The best thing you'll get is the feedback on what not to do, right? And when you say what you're not trying to do, or to what not to do, it really helps you focus on things that you can do and get that adoption.
I've been given the 1 minute. So you've been around the Canadian ecosystem, as I have, for a long time. What excites you? What worries you? Why the heck did you give us money to manage?
So I'll answer the first one first. I think I never looked at any of the diligence materials because I've known you for a long period of time, and you told me what you were doing, and it made a ton of sense. That was like, I think we were talking about it earlier, like you can crystallize some of these wins for some people and then ride the next wave. It's a win for everybody, right? Forget all the practical challenges of like data, diligence, all that stuff. Like that's important, but like that concept resonated with me right away. What's exciting is, look, there's never been a better day or mankind minute to start an idea today. And not all ideas become businesses, but there's never been a better opportunity to do that. The tools are there. I'm sure maybe like Devin in this session has put an app together on his phone or something like that. Like it's like you can do stuff like that super fast. So I think that's really exciting. I think the thing that really has me in a little bit of trepidation is, how quickly the models are subsuming industries, and like you see it, right? Like turn by turn directions on Google Maps took out TomTom and parts of Garment, right, overnight. So you see that coming here. And then the other thing that's interesting for me is we have a lot of interest committees. Like if you work at a place where there's a committee on AI, you probably have 10x too many people in that committee. Get it down to the core constituents and get down to what are the challenges and move quickly. Because it's happening, whether you want to think your groups or your people are using it or not, they are. Everybody's using it. It doesn't make it right, but it's just already happening.
I just want to thank you for 25 years of friendship and all the journeys along the way. And really excited about what you guys are building and thrilled to have you as a partner. And with that, I'm going to bring up Kim Fennell, our venture partner, to bring us home with Dan for our last session. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.